All right, for our work lunch today, we're going to be having our speaker come on stage here in a second. But before we do that, I want to ask Elizabeth and Steve from NIB and Source America to please come on stage. We can give them a round of applause.
Okay, so I just want to, on behalf of the Air Force contracting family, I want to just say thank you for your partnership. Thank you for what you do. I told the next speaker, I said, you're going to find this really simple. You're like preaching to the choir here. But the Air Force is getting after this in a big way, and I really appreciate your partnership in that endeavor. And I also want to say to everybody, these folks volunteered to put on our social for us. And they did that, and I want to extend a round of applause and thank them for So here's a little token of our appreciation just to say thank you. She was worried she was going to drop it, and I said, don't do that, there's a lot of people in this room.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys. So we are lucky to have with us today Mr. Scott Owens. He'll be speaking to us about his involvement with the Ability One program. Mr. Owens is a former corporal who served 9 years as an infantryman in the U.S. Army with the famed 101st Airborne Division, where he served 2 tours of duty in Iraq. Scott joined the Ability One Speaker Bureau in 2012 and has traveled across the country sharing his story and educating audiences about why hiring veterans is so beneficial. So please help me welcome to the stage Mr. Scott Owens.
Good afternoon. Thank you to General Holt, Tom Robinson, and Source America for inviting me to be here with you today. It's truly an honor to share my story of service, sacrifice, struggle, and perseverance, and how the Ability One program was my guiding light at the end of a long, dark tunnel. As I begin, I would like to share a story with you that came out of the 2016 Rio Olympics. This Olympian goes by the name of Sam Kendricks. He's a second lieutenant in the U.S. Army Reserves. He was practicing for the pole vault event when the national anthem started. He dropped the pole mid-stride and came to a complete halt. He scanned, looking for the national anthem and faced towards it until the song was complete. He demonstrated the core values that are taught throughout the military: loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. These core values define one of the most important values that is taught in the military and is used throughout the business world, and that's leadership. As I share my story with you today, I hope you will hear each of these core values demonstrated and gain an understanding of why America's veterans are such a valuable asset. My name is Scott Owens. I grew up in a family with a history of military service. My dad, grandfather, uncles, and great uncles served in the military. Serving this country was important to me. In August 2000, I left for basic training. After airborne school, I arrived at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, home of the 101st Airborne Division, Air Assault. I was assigned to Bravo Company, 3rd Battalion, 327th Infantry. I trained to become a platoon RTO, which is a radio telephone operator. On September 11, 2001, I was in Chow Hall eating breakfast, watching the news as the second tower fell. When the staff duty NCO came in and made an announcement, he said, "Chew what you have in your mouth and report to your units immediately." It was a year and a half before my unit would deploy. My unit got their orders to move, and on or about March 27, 2003, we landed, assaulted, and seized the new airfield in An-Najaf, Iraq. 2 days later, we were given a mission to clear a compound that was said to be housing the Fedayeen, Saddam's special forces, who were notorious for their cruelty to Iraqi civilians. We began our movement to the compound. As we got closer, we started taking fire from a sniper. We did a movement to contact and tried to get a grid coordinate to do a call for fire on the sniper's position, but the wall surrounding the compound was a visual obstacle. The lieutenant, myself, and first squad moved up to the wall because it had these peepholes about the size of a cinder block. I was able to get a grid and send it up to the fisters for the fire support personnel. We got a call that indirect fire was coming from both directions and we needed to get to safety right away. First squad broke contact and moved with the rest of the platoon. The LT and I pulled for through. As we started to come over the burn, we found ourselves pinned down by sniper fire from another building within the compound. As we began to break contact, the company commander called over the radio explicitly, get down, incoming, incoming." Rounds began to fall from the sky. Boom. Everything goes black. I felt like I was in a 4D war movie that day. The concussive blast blew me forward and knocked me out. When I came to, there were helicopters flying overhead. The LT and I got up and made our way to the rest of the platoon. Beyond that, I really do not remember much about the remaining 12 months in Iraq. In the infantry, if you still have your arms, legs, and sight, you're going to go back to work. So I went back to work. But there was something different about me after that day. Something was not right. I forgot the things that were important to me. I was having a hard time remembering the call signs and information I needed to use during radio communication. With a growing amount of frustration, I requested to go back to the line as a rifleman instead of being the radio telephone operator. I finished my 13-month tour, and after the surgery on my left foot in late 2005, I went on to serve another 6-month tour. I got new injuries, things that I just had to live with until my time in the Army was done. I told Shannon, my wife, I didn't want to hide my injuries anymore. So in 2009, when my commitment with the Army was complete, I didn't re-enlist. My last day in the Army was June 2nd, 2009. My first day of being a civilian felt empty, strange, exciting, all at the same time. I was excited to start my new life, but the pressure was on to find work. I had a family to support. We had a 2-year-old daughter and another one on the way. But I felt confident that I would find a job soon. I had 9 years in the Army with a pattern of hard work and promotion, and I had taken on leadership roles. I had administrative experience and a good work ethic. Even if I didn't get a job right away, I had a safety net. I had a nest egg saved up. It was going to be a down payment on a house. It took me several years to save that money. I had that as a cushion, but I really didn't want to touch it. Meanwhile, I was dealing with the service-related medical and emotional issues that had been bothering me for years. I was having migraine headaches that would trigger seizures. I was going in and out of the hospital for that. I was having increasing memory issues. For example, I'd go out there to mow the lawn, something I had done hundreds of times, and I'd just stand there for 15 minutes because I couldn't remember what I had gone out to do. Another time I got in the car to go to Walmart, which was about 5 miles from where I lived. I couldn't remember how to get there. I was dealing with the emotional changes too. I was having nightmares almost every night, reliving what I had experienced in Iraq. Hypervigilance when driving and being around large crowds of people. Shannon said my personality was different too. She said that I used to be a laid-back, happy-go-lucky type person. When I came back, I was serious all the time, and my face had lost all expression. So I was coping with these changes while I was looking for a job. Also, my job search was taking longer than I expected. I was applying to several jobs a week for over a year, and I didn't get a single phone call or interview. No response at all. I sent resumes everywhere: Pinellas County Employment Services, USA Jobs, tip agencies, Walmart, even McDonald's. I thought for sure at least McDonald's would hire me. I called McDonald's and they said, "We got your resume, but you're overqualified to work here." I thought, how am I overqualified? I've never worked fast food in my life. I guess all that time on PE duty really paid off. With 2 kids to feed, my savings was gone in 18 months. I worked years to save that, and it was gone. My wife and I started accepting donations from our church and other organizations. I felt panicked, depressed, and trapped. Just surviving and getting through life seemed like too much to handle. Mentally, I was hanging by a thread. I wondered, why is joining the civilian world so difficult? All I need is one decent job. Nobody's calling me. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was just lost. Just getting by was a struggle. I needed relief. I started thinking some dark thoughts. I felt that my family would be better off if I was no longer around. And then one day, I said it out loud. I told my wife that I was a burden on the family and would be more valuable to the family if I was dead. They say it's darkest before the dawn. Well, that was true for me. Saying those words changed everything. Shannon called the Veterans Helpline. An ambulance came and took me to the VA, where I got some help. 3 important things came from this hospital visit. After a year of delayed appointments, I got an official diagnosis from the VA. There's a well-known backlog of paperwork in the VA, and I was trapped in that backlog. So just getting this diagnosis was a huge accomplishment. My diagnosis is mild to severe traumatic brain injury, or TBI, severe post-traumatic stress disorder, bilateral hearing loss, which is hearing loss in both ears, tinnitus, which is the ringing in the ear, among other health problems. Because of the diagnosis, I qualified for 90% disability compensation. I was matched with a vocational training program to help me find a job through a nonprofit called ServiceSource. They have a program designed to assist veterans with disabilities called the Warrior Bridge. I sat down with Muriel Boyson of ServiceSource in November of 2010 and showed her my resume. She said I had a lot of transferable skills and valuable experience, but my resume was too military focused for the civilian world. She helped me understand what the job market was looking for. I rewrote my resume with Muriel's recommendations. That winter, I went through occupational rehabilitation to help with my TBI. Because of the additional medical appointments, I wasn't ready to get a job yet, but Muriel was preparing me for the job market. In the springtime, she called me with an opportunity that she thought was a good fit for my skills. She said ServiceSource was looking for wounded veterans to perform contract closeout for the DoD. And I'll just tell everybody here that the pod that I worked for was actually the Air Force. So being here and in front of you guys, the ones that write the contracts, I want to say thank you for that. Required working with people, using administrative skills, and having a fine attention to detail. She thought it would be a perfect fit for me. I sent in my resume and got called in for an interview. I had sent out thousands of resumes, and this was the only interview I had gotten in 2.5 years. But all I needed was one. 10 tons of weight was lifted off my shoulders when they told me I got the job. and it was all thanks to the Ability One program. I started in October 2011 and remained there until September 2013, when I started a new career helping homeless veterans find employment at the C.W. Bill Young VA Medical Center in St. Petersburg. In 2012, I started speaking with the Ability One Speakers Bureau across the country, sharing my personal story of how the Ability One program inspired me, talking with community leaders, employers, and politicians about the importance of hiring veterans, especially disabled veterans. Because I took the step forward and asked for the help that I needed, I have a positive outlook on the future. I have set goals and have high ambitions. I gained some new job skills that will benefit me in the future. I started attending college. I'm majoring in political science. I have achieved things that I never thought were possible. I continue my work as a veteran advocate in my community still today, and am expanding my work from Tampa Bay across Central Florida all the way to the East Coast. A good friend of mine has the saying, be your own kind of extraordinary. Even though I'm dealing with challenges posed by TBI and PTSD, that's what I'm setting out to do. As many of you have heard, 22 veterans are committing suicide each day. Real healing starts within the community. Because of programs like Ability One, veterans are given new opportunities that may not otherwise present themselves. To redeem their sense of self-worth, nonprofits such as the one that help to fulfill contract requirements are the heartbeat of the Ability One program. Through the Ability One program, nonprofits across the nation have identified the great skills and core values that are attained by service to this nation and have helped more than 3,000 veterans like me return to being productive members of society. In conclusion, I'd like to share this final thought. In February, I was given the opportunity to travel to Nashville, Tennessee, and work with some songwriters at the Grand Ole Opry to share my story in the form of a song. The second verse says, "Now here I am, taking full advantage of a second chance given to me. So I stand and I raise my voice for those who think they can't so easily. Because I once traveled down that road when I was carrying that load, and I let go when I found those abilities. It was the Ability One program through ServiceSource that helped me to find those abilities, regain my confidence, and achieve some great things. One of the greatest presidents this country we have ever known, President Abraham Lincoln, had a vision of what was required of us as a nation, and those who would take up the chore to protect it. He said, let us strive to finish the work we are in, to bind up our nation's wounds, to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan. I know that the Ability One program helps to fulfill President Lincoln's vision because I'm living proof. Caring for veterans is a cause that is close to my heart, and I will continue offering light to those who are trying to return from darkness. Thank you for allowing me to share my story of service, sacrifice, struggle, and perseverance, and how the Ability One program was a light at the end of a long, dark time. God bless all of you in this great nation we call home. Thank you.
Sir, I just want to thank you for your service and thank you for your inspiration. And I want to commit to you that Air Force Contracting will always have your back.
Mr. Owens, for your time, your story, and your service, and your willingness to share it with us. So we will now be taking a break before we do our organizational-based breakouts. Like I said this morning, if you are a FICA, to include all operational and other contracting offices, you're going to be remaining in this room. If you are AFMC, you will be going to the Jasmine room, which is down the hall. And if you are all other organizations, you're going to be meeting in the Magnolia room. And I would be lying to you if I told you the direction. So just to let you guys know, we'll be meeting back in this room we'll resume our day back here at 2:15. So try to get back as soon as you're able to take your seat, and then we can start our day as soon as possible. So with that being said, you're adjourned to start doing your breakouts. Thank you.
Doing all right?